The walls in my new apartment wouldn't stop whispering. I finally listened, and now I'm about to end the world. I've always been a light sleeper. The slightest noise, the faintest shift in the air, and I'm wide awake, heart pounding. It's been this way since I was a kid, much to my parents' frustration. But lately, I've started to wonder if maybe this quirk of mine isn't such a bad thing after all. Because lately, I've been hearing things in the night. Things that make me wish I could sleep through anything. It all started about a month ago when I moved into my new apartment. It was a spacious one-bedroom in a historic building downtown. All exposed brick and hardwood floors. The rent was suspiciously low, but I chalked it up to the soft housing market and my excellent negotiation skills. I should have known better. The first few nights were uneventful. I was exhausted from moving and unpacking, so I slept like the dead. But as I settled into my new routine, my old sleeping patterns reasserted themselves. I'd wake up at the slightest creak of the floorboards or the distant hum of traffic outside. It was on the fifth night that I first heard it. A whisper, so faint I almost missed it. At first, I thought it was just the wind whistling through a crack in the window frame. But as I lay there, straining my ears, I realized it wasn't coming from outside at all. It was coming from inside the walls. I couldn't make out any words, just a soft, sibilant hiss that seemed to ebb and flow like waves on a distant shore. I told myself it was just the pipes, or maybe mice in the walls. Old buildings make all sorts of strange noises, right? But deep down, I knew this was different. There was something intentional about it. As the days passed, I tried to ignore it. I bought earplugs, played white noise on my phone, even tried sleeping with music on, but nothing could quite drown out that persistent whisper. And worse, it seemed to be getting louder. About 2 weeks in, I started to catch snippets of actual words. They were garbled and distorted, like a badly tuned radio, but unmistakably there. Come, closer, listen to us, let us in. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe I was picking up radio signals somehow, or a neighbor's TV was bleeding through the walls. But the voices never seemed to say anything normal, never carried on a conversation or announced the weather. Just those same fragmented phrases, over and over. I started sleeping on the couch in the living room, as far from the bedroom walls as I could get. But it didn't help. The whispers followed me, seeming to come from every wall in the apartment now. I was getting maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night, and it was starting to take its toll. I became irritable at work, snapping at coworkers over minor issues. My performance slipped, and my boss pulled me aside more than once to ask if everything was alright. I made excuses about adjusting to the new apartment, about noisy neighbors keeping me up. I couldn't bring myself to tell the truth. Who would believe me? As my sleep deprivation worsened, I started to see things out of the corner of my eye, shadows that moved when they shouldn't, flickers of movement in reflective surfaces. Once, I could have sworn I saw a face pressing against the inside of my bedroom window, from the inside. But when I turned to look, it was gone. I knew I needed help, but I didn't know where to turn. A doctor would probably think I was having a psychotic break. The police would laugh me out of the station. And my family, well, they already thought I was a bit high-strung. This would just confirm their worst fears. So I did the only thing I could think of. I started researching the building's history. I spent hours at the local library, poring over old newspapers and city records. What I found chilled me to the bone. The building had been constructed in the late 1800s as a private sanitarium for the wealthy. It specialized in treating nervous disorders and hysteria, catch-all diagnoses for any behavior deemed unacceptable by the standards of the time. The treatments were barbaric by modern standards. Ice baths, electroshock therapy, forced feedings. But it was the basement level that really caught my attention. According to the blueprints, there was a whole floor that didn't appear in the modern plans. A floor that, if it still existed, would be directly beneath my apartment. The newspaper articles were vague, but I managed to piece together a disturbing picture. In 1904, there was a patient riot. Dozens were killed, both patients and staff. The official story was that the building caught fire during the chaos, and the basement level was so badly damaged it had to be sealed off. But there were whispers of a cover-up, rumors of experiments gone wrong, of patients driven mad by treatments that went far beyond the already questionable standards of the time. Some even claimed that the riot was caused by something the doctors had unleashed, something that drove everyone in the basement level into a homicidal frenzy. The sanitarium closed shortly after, and the building remained abandoned for decades before being renovated into apartments in the 1980s. I found no mention of the sealed basement level in any of the renovation documents. Armed with this knowledge, I became obsessed with finding a way into that hidden floor. I scoured my apartment for any sign of a trapdoor or sealed entrance, but found nothing. I tried to get into the maintenance areas of the building, but the super always seemed to be around, watching me with suspicious eyes. All the while, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They weren't just coming from the walls anymore. I heard them in the rustle of my bed sheets, in the gurgle of water in the pipes, in the hum of my refrigerator, always urging me to come closer, to listen, to let them in. I stopped sleeping altogether. I couldn't bear to close my eyes, couldn't stand the thought of what might happen if I let my guard down for even a moment. I existed in a haze of caffeine and fear, jumping at every shadow, flinching at every sound. It was in this state of sleep-deprived paranoia that I finally found it. I was in the kitchen, mindlessly opening and closing cabinets, when I noticed something odd about the back of the pantry. The wall there didn't quite line up with the exterior wall of the building. There was maybe an inch of discrepancy, but in my hyper-alert state, it might as well have been a gaping chasm. I emptied the pantry, shoving cans and boxes aside without care. Then, with trembling hands, I began to probe the back wall. It took almost an hour of careful examination, but I finally found it. A tiny catch, almost invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. When I pressed it, a section of the wall swung inward with a groan of protesting metal. Beyond it was a narrow passage, thick with dust and cobwebs. And at the far end, barely visible in the gloom, was a set of stairs leading down. The whispers exploded into a cacophony of voices, no longer even trying to be subtle. They urged me forward, promised me answers, secrets, power. Part of me wanted to slam the hidden door shut, to run screaming from the apartment and never look back. But a larger part, the part driven by weeks of sleepless nights and growing madness, took a step forward. The stairs seemed to go on forever, spiraling down into darkness. The air grew colder with each step, and a musty, organic smell filled my nostrils. It reminded me of overturned earth and rotting leaves, of things long buried finally exposed to the air. When I finally reached the bottom, I found myself in a vast, open space. My phone's flashlight barely penetrated the gloom, but what I could see made my blood run cold. The floor was littered with debris, broken furniture, shattered glass, and things I couldn't quite identify. And on the walls were covered in writing, thousands upon thousands of words, scrawled in what looked disturbingly like dried blood. They covered every inch of visible space, overlapping and intertwining in a maddening tapestry. I caught glimpses of phrases that made my head spin, talk of other dimensions, of beings that existed beyond human comprehension, of rituals to tear open the veil between worlds. And in the center of it all was a circle, a perfect circle, maybe 10 feet in diameter, drawn in the same rusty substance as the writing. As my light played over it, I could have sworn I saw it pulse, like a living thing. The whispers had fallen silent. The quiet was almost worse than the noise had been. I knew, with a certainty that went beyond rational thought, that I was standing on the edge of something monumental, something that would change me forever, if I let it. I don't know how long I stood there, teetering on the brink of a decision. Part of me screamed to run, to forget everything I'd seen and try to reclaim some semblance of a normal life. But another part, a part that had been growing stronger with each sleepless night, urged me forward. In the end, it wasn't really a choice at all. I'd come too far, sacrificed too much, to turn back now. With a deep breath, I stepped into the circle. The change was immediate and overwhelming. The whispers returned, but they weren't whispers anymore. They were shouts, screams, a tsunami of voices that threatened to drown me. I fell to my knees, clutching my head, as knowledge poured into me like molten lead. I saw things no human was meant to see. Vast, impossible geometries that hurt to look at. Beings of such cosmic scale that a galaxy was less than a mote of dust to them. I saw the true nature of reality, the thin membrane that separated our world from the howling chaos beyond. And I saw how to tear that membrane. When the visions finally faded, I found myself curled up on the floor, shaking uncontrollably. I don't know how long I lay there, trying to process what I'd experienced. It could have been minutes or hours, but when I finally managed to stand, I knew I was changed. The whispers were gone, but I could still feel them, a constant pressure at the back of my mind. They weren't trying to communicate anymore. They were waiting for me to do what I now knew I had to do. I made my way back up to my apartment in a daze. The hidden door swung shut behind me with a finality that should have frightened me, but I felt nothing but a grim determination. I had work to do. That was 3 days ago. I haven't slept since then. I don't think I'll ever sleep again. I've been preparing, gathering the materials I need for the ritual. It's amazing how easy it is to find these things when you know where to look. The hardest part was the blood, but even that was simpler than I expected. It's amazing what people will do for a little cash, no questions asked. I know how this must sound. If someone had told me this story a month ago, I'd have thought they were insane. Maybe I am insane, but I don't think so. I think I'm seeing clearly for the first time in my life. I'm writing this as a record, I suppose. A testament to who I was before, and an explanation for what's to come. Because make no mistake, everything is about to change. The ritual will tear open the veil, and what comes through, well, it won't be pretty, but it will be glorious. To anyone reading this, I'm sorry, I truly am. But once you've seen what I've seen, you realize that our world, our entire concept of reality, is just a comforting lie, and I can't live with that lie anymore. The next time you hear a whisper in the night, pay attention. It might just be the wind, or your imagination playing tricks on you, but it might be something more, something reaching out from beyond the veil. And if it is, listen closely, you might just learn the truth. The ritual begins at midnight. By the time you read this, it will already be too late. Sweet dreams, everyone. And remember, the walls are always listening.